A woman at the airport demanded I switch seats so she could sit with her friend, yelling, "I deserve a better view than you." When I declined, she mocked me loudly, saying, "You're clearly not first-class material anyway." As the flight attendant approached, I smiled and said, "I actually paid for an upgrade. Enjoy the middle seat." I don't normally spend extra money on flights. I work in software, middle management, and most of my flights are the kind where you're crammed in coach, eating stale cookies, and trying to ignore the guy next to you clipping his nails. But this trip was different. We had a big deal on the line. A client in Seattle we'd been chasing for over a year. They finally agreed to meet. My boss told me, "Don't screw this up." I was flying out from Dallas, and for once, I decided to do something for myself. I used points and some cash to upgrade to first class. I needed the peace, the space, and the quiet. I wanted to be sharp when I landed. I got to the gate early, boarded in the priority group, and headed to seat 1A. First row window. I took off my coat, put my laptop bag under the seat, and sat down. I didn't even have time to get my earbuds in before she showed up. She came stomping down the aisle like the whole plane was hers. Blonde hair in one of those tight ponytails that looked like it hurt, huge sunglasses still on even though we were inside, and one of those giant designer bags with fake gold chains clinking against her thigh. Behind her was another woman, shorter, quieter, clutching a boarding pass like it was a permission slip. The blonde stopped next to me, looked down, then looked me up and down. "You're in my friend's seat," she said, like she was accusing me of a crime. I looked at her, then at my ticket. "This is 1A. That's what I booked." "My friend's supposed to sit here," she snapped. "We want to sit together." Her friend looked at her pass. "It says 3C, she said, almost whispering. I nodded. "Yeah, I'm in 1A. So just switch," the blonde said like it was nothing. "She'll sit here, and you can take her seat. It's not a big deal." I looked at her again. "It's a middle seat. And I paid to upgrade to this one. I'm not switching." She blinked. "Oh my God, are you serious?" Then she laughed. "Wow. Okay, so you're one of those people." I just stared at her. She rolled her eyes hard and raised her voice. "Wow. Imagine thinking you're too good to switch seats. It's just a chair, not a throne." People in nearby rows turned to look. She clearly wanted an audience. "I swear," she said louder, "some people get bumped up once in their life and suddenly think they belong in first class. You're clearly not first-class material anyway." That one stung. Not because it was true, but because it was said so loudly and so publicly. I sat there for a second, heat rising up my neck. She was trying to embarrass me. She wanted me to feel small. I've been through worse. I've had bosses scream at me. I've had clients lie to my face, but this was personal. Before I could respond, a flight attendant came up. A young woman, early 30s maybe, trying to keep the peace. "Is there a problem here?" she asked, glancing between the blonde and me. The blonde turned her fake charm on full blast. "We're just trying to switch seats so my friend and I can sit together, but this woman is being uncooperative." The flight attendant looked at me. I didn't even blink. "I paid extra for the seat," I said, calmly but clearly. "She wants me to move to a middle seat in row 3. When I said no, she started insulting me. The blonde opened her mouth, but I kept going. If her friend wants to sit up here, she can pay for an upgrade. That's how it works, right? The flight attendant nodded slowly. "Yes, that's correct." The blonde's face twisted. "I'm not paying more. This is ridiculous. What happened to kindness? What happened to decency?" I leaned back in my seat, locked eyes with her, and gave her the calmest, most satisfying smile I could. "Enjoy the middle seat." You could see the color drain from her face. Her lips tightened, and for the first time, she didn't have anything to say. Her friend tugged at her arm and mumbled, "Let's just go," like she wanted to melt into the floor. They walked off, and I heard someone behind me stifle a laugh. The flight attendant gave me a nod, checked my seatbelt, and moved on. I settled in, pulled out my Kindle, and waited for takeoff. But the story wasn't over yet. Not by a long shot. About 20 minutes after takeoff, just as the seatbelt sign turned off, I saw her again. The blonde. She didn't go quietly. She came stomping back up the aisle from coach. Her bag now shoved under someone else's seat, her friend nowhere behind her. She had taken off her sunglasses, revealing dark, sharp eyes that scanned the row like she was still looking for a fight. She leaned in, right over the armrest of the empty seat next to me, 1B, and hissed, "You really think you're something special, don't you?" I didn't even look up from my book. "I think I paid for a seat, and I'm sitting in it." She laughed again, low and bitter. "People like you, you're always trying to act important. You think money makes you better." "I didn't say I was better," I said. "You did." The man in seat 1C across the aisle gave her a sharp look. The flight attendant was coming back down the aisle with drinks. She saw the blonde, and her whole face changed. "Ma'am, I need you to return to your seat right now," she said, voice firm. The blonde hesitated like she was about to say something nasty again. I braced myself. But instead, she muttered something under her breath, turned, and stormed back to coach. I thought that would be the end of it. But it wasn't. Mid-flight, I went to use the restroom at the front of the plane. On the way back, the same flight attendant gently pulled me aside. "Hey," she said in a low voice, "just wanted you to know we've had 2 complaints from passengers back in row 3. That woman's been talking loudly about you ever since we took off. Saying things like you stole her seat, that you threatened her, and that you're a rude customer." I was stunned. I didn't say a word to her after she walked away, I said, honestly. The flight attendant nodded. "I believe you. But the captain's already been made aware. If she causes more trouble, we'll be filing a report." I exhaled. Great. Just what I needed, a crazy woman trying to sabotage me while I'm trying to get to a make-or-break business meeting. I sat back down. My hands were shaking. It wasn't just about the seat anymore. This was about humiliation. Control. She didn't like being told no, and now she wanted to make me pay for it. I pulled out my phone and opened the airline's app. I took screenshots of my seat upgrade confirmation, the receipt, and even the timestamp from 2 weeks ago. I made sure I had proof. Just in case. An hour later, it got worse. A second flight attendant, older, male, came by and crouched down next to me. He kept his voice low. "Sir, I'm very sorry to ask, but did you say anything threatening to a passenger in coach?" I shook my head slowly. "No, absolutely not. Is this about the woman in 3C again?" He looked uncomfortable. "She claims you made her feel unsafe." "We're not accusing you of anything. We just want to make sure there's no issue." "I haven't left my seat except to use the bathroom," I said. "You can check with the other passengers up here." "I believe you," he said. "But she's been pressing the call button nonstop, and she keeps pointing back here. We may need you to speak to a supervisor when we land." Standard procedure. I was furious, but I kept my cool. I nodded. "That's fine. I'll be ready." And I meant it. Because when we landed in Seattle, I wasn't just going to walk off that plane. I was going to make sure this woman never pulled this kind of stunt on anyone ever again. We landed in Seattle just after sunset. The sky was fading into that deep gray blue that makes the city feel colder than it is. I stayed seated as others stood up and scrambled to pull their bags from the overheads. I wasn't in a rush anymore. I was focused. I had everything saved on my phone. Screenshots, timestamps, receipts. I even took a quick photo of the seat in front of me before we landed, just to show I hadn't moved from 1A the entire flight. That woman had spent hours back there spinning lies about me. And now she was about to find out what happens when you pick the wrong person to mess with. The flight attendant who first helped me gave me a look as she passed. A small nod. She knew. As we filed off the plane, I saw her up ahead, blonde ponytail swinging, dragging her oversized bag again. She didn't look back. At the gate, Two airport security agents were waiting. One in a navy blazer with a clipboard, the other in uniform. I stepped forward, expecting to explain myself. But then I saw it. She was standing with them, talking to them. And the look she gave me? It was smug. Way too smug. I approached and calmly said, "Are you the supervisor? I'd like to speak with you." Before the man could answer, she cut in. "That's him," she said, pointing right at me. He refused to move out of my seat, yelled at me, and then followed me to the bathroom to threaten me mid-flight. "What?" I said, stunned. The security officer raised a hand. "Let's all stay calm. We're just here to get the facts." "She's lying," I said flatly. I never raised my voice. Never left my seat except once. "I have proof." I held up my phone. Her arms crossed. "Oh, please. You probably faked that crap." He was aggressive. The whole flight. My friend saw everything. It hit me then. Her quiet little friend. She'd been sitting nearby the whole time. I hadn't even seen her again after boarding. If this woman dragged her into this, it could be a mess. But I wasn't backing down. "I want to file a formal complaint," I said. "She harassed me before takeoff, insulted me in front of the cabin, then spent the entire flight trying to ruin my reputation." "She asked you to switch seats," the security officer said, "and you refused?" "Yes." And I said no politely. She went ballistic. "Ask the other passengers. Ask the crew." This wasn't a seat issue. This was a power trip. The supervisor looked between us, clearly tired. "Here's what's going to happen. We're writing an incident report. We'll take both of your statements. If there's video, we'll review it." I nodded. "Good. Please do." Blondie laughed and turned to walk away. "Enjoy your little report," she sneered. "I've got connections with this airline. I'll make sure they know exactly what kind of man you are." And just like that, she vanished into the crowd. But it wasn't over. I sat down with the airline rep and went through every detail. I showed the receipts, the timestamp on my upgrade, and the screenshots. I even showed them a short voice recording I had taken when she started yelling, "Pure luck I hit record out of instinct," when she started berating me. You could hear her clearly say, "You're clearly not first-class material anyway." The agent's face changed when he heard it. He leaned back in his chair, sighed, and said, "Okay. Thank you. That's a lot more than what she gave us." I didn't smile. Not yet. Because the next day, it got better. I was at my hotel prepping for the client meeting when I got an email from the airline. Not only was she being investigated for harassment and false claims, but the airline had flagged her frequent flyer account pending review. And the kicker? A flight attendant had filed a separate report about her behavior. Unsolicited contact with crew and disruption of cabin peace. I called the number they provided and spoke with someone in guest services. "She's a known problem on flights," the rep admitted. "You're not the first to file a complaint." I asked them to keep me updated. But I had another idea. A better one. I didn't sleep much that night. Not because of the meeting, I nailed that. The client signed on for a 6-month contract and even said I seemed level-headed under pressure. What they didn't know was I had a storm behind my calm face. After that phone call with the airline, I kept thinking. This woman had lied, publicly humiliated me, tried to smear my name. And now I knew she was a repeat problem? That wasn't good enough for me. I didn't want her grounded for a week and then back to her old tricks. I wanted her stopped. For good. So I dug. I had her full name. She said it to the flight attendant during the incident, and I remembered it. Shelby Carver. Not a super common name. I searched her the old-fashioned way, LinkedIn, Facebook, public records. And bingo. She was a self-described luxury travel influencer. She ran a blog and Instagram page where she posted photos of herself in first class with captions like "Manifesting Abundance Airplane Nail Polish Medium Light Skin Tone" and "First class isn't a seat, it's a mindset." She had followers, brands, affiliate links. She was making money off this image. But more importantly, she had a pattern. In one blog post from 3 months ago, she wrote a story about sweet-talking a gate agent to bump her into first class for free. She even hinted at how to handle stubborn passengers who try to gatekeep luxury. That was the moment I realized this wasn't her being entitled one time. This was a game to her. A hustle. And I was going to break it. I sent a very calm, well-documented email to the airline's media department, CCING, their legal team, and guest relations. I attached every screenshot, the receipt for my upgrade, a transcript of the audio recording, and most importantly, links to Shelby's posts where she admitted to manipulating airline staff for upgrades and working around paying customers. Within 2 days, I got a reply from the airline. Thank you for bringing this to our attention. We are currently conducting a full internal review. We take matters of passenger safety, harassment, and manipulation of our staff seriously. That wasn't the satisfying part, though. The satisfying part came a week later when someone from her follower list messaged me on LinkedIn. I didn't know them, but they sent me a screenshot of her Instagram page. This account has been suspended for violating community guidelines. Her blog? Gone. All affiliate links dead. Sponsors had pulled out. I don't know if the airline reached out to them directly, but I'm guessing they weren't thrilled about being linked to someone who bragged about lying and harassing people mid-flight. And the airline? They issued me a formal apology, refunded my upgrade cost, gave me a free flight voucher, and, get this, banned her from flying with them for 2 years. Turns out that wasn't her first strike. But it was her last. Was it petty? Maybe. But she made it personal. She humiliated me in front of strangers, tried to ruin my name, and used a fake version of class to bully people out of their seats. I didn't shout. I didn't scream. I just watched her trip over the lies she built. And I made sure the next time she tried to demand a better view, all she'd be looking at was a long list of closed doors. We all make mistakes. I've made mine too. Maybe I should have just walked away. Maybe I should have let it go. But I didn't. And I don't regret it. Not for a second.